he was talking about the translators, that was one thing that going that week before Easter was really cool because we got to kind of build relationships a little bit with these people, not just the kids, but also like with people my age, and to be able to learn about them and what they're doing. It was just very inspiring to me to learn that. I decided to go on this trip. It felt kind of like last minute, a little bit, just in like January. So I didn't have a whole lot of time, which is probably good for me because that I wasn't worrying for so long. Because honestly, like, I really felt like I should go, and it was one of those moments where like I knew I should go, but I was freaking out. And I look back at the things I was worrying about, and I like some of them I'm just like, that was totally ridiculous. And when I look at how much peace I had on the trip, like I was on the plane and I was just like chilling out. Like I had been on planes before, and I like was totally like not like stressed about it at all. It was incredible, and I know that was also a lot of people praying because there were so many people who said they were praying for us, and it definitely made a difference. So going to another country was definitely outside of my comfort zone. If you can't read that, it says great things never come from comfort zones, and I just find that to be definitely true in so many things in my life. And this was the granola bar that I happened to choose to eat in the airport, and I was like, wow, who knew deciding which granola bar to eat? It has so much importance. Because I look back and my mom was like, because like, you know, a couple weeks before when I was freaking out, she's like, jumping out of your comfort zone. And I was like, yes, yes. And it seriously was like the most incredible experience. I just wanted to share like a little bit of like how the trip went. So we arrived on Saturday night, really late. It was overall like a 13 hours of travel. It was only about a 3-hour and 45-minute flight, but you know, like traveling in Haiti is very chaotic and scary. But it was very interesting and very neat to see all that we went by. But then the next day was Sunday. It was nice to not get right to work. We got to go to church that morning. And one thing that was cool to me going to Haiti, and especially at church, is seeing so many things that are the same. That we serve the same God. They're singing so many of the same songs. It was neat to hear them sing them in Creole. That was like something that was really neat to see the things that are same, slightly different, and it was just a really cool experience for me. We actually got to be part of their birthday party they had for the sponsor kids on Sunday, so that was neat to learn more about that program. And then after the birthday party, we had some girls do our hair. Me and Mary Jo both had our hair braided. And so I was really excited to do this. I was like, this will be so cool, you know, to have that experience. It was so painful, though. It was, like, horrible. And then so they kept asking us, like, to do it again. Because, like, you know, it was kind of like a little job. We paid them to do it, and we gave them like some dresses because someone had donated dresses to bring down. We thought that would be a nice thing to share. And they kept asking us, because obviously I think they like to, you know, hang out with people too. Like, hair, later, hair, like all week. And I was like, at first I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know, have it redone, because they started falling out. But then I was like, no, that hurt really bad. So I think the last thing we did on Sunday, was we went on a walk through the community, and this was something that I really enjoyed. Like, I realized, you know, I like going on walks, but it was neat when I think about it to just do something like everyday life, just like go on a walk through the community, and see where they live, see the different people, and just how different it is. And there's always like same kids, different kids who come and like latch onto you. So the first day we went to David's house to see the foundation of where his house would be, and while we were there was like lots of kids coming and hanging out, and there was this little girl who I thought her name was, because I was like, ooh, using my one phrase I know, like, what's your name in Creole, and I thought she said Cassia, but her name was actually like Katsia, I think. But it was just so sweet because I got to walk with her we went and we saw one of our other team members. We went and saw one of their sponsor kids, and she just walked with me the whole way and held my hand. It was just so sweet, and then every day she like sat with me again. So it was neat to have that relationship and see that happening. So a lot of you know the main thing we did was we built a house, or we helped build a house. Obviously we don't have a lot of building skills ourselves, but one of the things that I got to do a lot was paint, which was very fun. I love getting my hands covered in paint, and so that was a really neat experience, and it was fun to do that and be able to one thing about building the house, what struck me was that it's such a tangible expression of God's love to these people, like, and to think that they're still there living in a house that we were able to build for them. And then in the afternoon, we got to do a kind of a VBS program. They invited like 30 kids to come each day and be part of it, and we shared the Easter story. So each day a different team member got to share the Easter story, and so I was really excited to do this because obviously I love teaching kids. A lot of you know that about me. And to be able to share the gospel with kids in a whole other country. It was a crazy experience, and honestly, teaching with a translator was like so out of my comfort zone. I'm like, oh my goodness, and I was sort of unprepared, but I was just amazed. Everyone said it was good. Hopefully
she was amazing.
And I was like, that was definitely good because like I didn't even, unfortunately, I was didn't prepare super well, but it was amazing to let God use me in that way, and it was definitely a really cool experience. After that, they also got to go and collect Easter eggs, and the kids just loved doing this. They had so much fun. A couple of the days, they let like the teenagers go and do it, and they like had so much fun too. And it was nice to be able to watch the kids do something like that. That we like in this country, we just take for granted, but they really enjoyed it. The other thing was we got to make kites with the kids, which the first day I was watching what they were doing. And some of the kids, like, totally, they knew what they were doing, and it was incredible. And then some of them, they kind of just sat there, and you were like, well, I guess I should help them, but you're like, kind of don't know how to ask. And so some of them, like, the first day, I, like, helped 2 kids make kites. And I was like, wow, I helped kids make kites. And I was, like, so proud of myself. And then the next day, I don't know how it happened, but I started realizing, like, I don't know how to make it, like, right. Because some kids, like, you start helping them, and then they're, like, taking it back, like, because some of them, like I think, like I helped a really little girl, like, do it, and so some of them didn't know, so they're like, you make a kite for me, great. So that was kind of funny. But Gama, who, he definitely knew how to make kites. He gave us a tutorial one of the nights and kind of showed us, like, okay, this is how you, like, really do it. And so I started getting more confident, and by the end of the week, I was able to sort of make my own kite, but I also still had some people, like the translators, were there hanging out with us and helping us to make the kites. So I sort of did. But that was really fun to be able to do that and experience that part of the culture. They already talked about, like, the last day, Friday. We wanted to do a couple different things. And the first thing we went and we all saw them collecting water. It was really funny. Like, one of the things was they asked someone to help them put the water on one of the people's heads, and we saw the kids, and they were like covered in shampoo because they were doing their hair. I think I have that picture. Oh yes, so these are 2 kids, and they were like doing their hair, and they're like, oh, look at us, and it was really fun. It was really like cool to be able to see that and see them with all these water bottles and this, what they just a normal part of their life, really. So by Friday, the house was complete. I think this was actually Thursday because they're still putting on the door, but we got to have the home dedication, and again, that was such a beautiful time to be able to do that with them and just like finish that was really cool. And then Friday afternoon we got to go to the beach, and I was really good all week and I wore sunscreen. But on Friday I did not really put sunscreen on my back, and so I got a horrible sunburn. But it was really cool. The other thing that was way outside of my comfort zone was at the beach. They have all these people and they have all this stuff spread out, and they're selling like little gift items, and they're all like, oh, just come to mine and I just want to tell you like a 5-minute story about like whatever, and you're like, I can't buy from everyone. But it was really neat to be able to have that experience, even though it was a little scary. So this was the last day. This was that little girl, Cassia, and they had a community movie night, and they watched the Jesus movie, and it was neat to be able to do that with the kids. It was cool. I was sitting there and I sat kind of near that little girl, and then another little girl who I had seen like one day during the week came over to me and sat with me, and she just like recognized me. I was like, oh my goodness, and I recognized her because she was like, she had said something to me, and I like knew what she said, even though it was like in Creole, because I knew like the 2 words she said, and I was like, wow, and so I remembered her, and she was really sweet. So for me, like, I love kids, so that was really cool. Like they said, the views were amazing. I loved sitting on the roof. I think the last day and like you could just see all the community around and all that was going on. There's lots of different ministries in that area, like they mentioned, Be Like Brit is nearby, and different places, and to see that. So this was a picture I took of my water bottle. It was very meaningful to me, like after the fact, because it's just been cool for me to see how God has been working in my life. It was like exactly a year before this, I had been planning to go to college, and through some different things, I felt like that was really not the right decision. And so I decided not to go to college, but I ended up being able to work at Morningstar Christian Bookstore, and that's where I got this water bottle. And it was neat to see that a year later, like if I had been at college, I wouldn't have been able to have this experience. And this experience has really like set a lot of things in motion in my heart and my life, reminding me how much I love ministry. And so I am just so excited for the hope and the future and the plans that God has for me, just trusting one step at a time. Matthew 25 has been a very meaningful chapter in my life. The last part talks about the parable of the sheep and the goats. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but how he's saying, whatever you did for the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And that was meaningful to me to think of, building this home for David. And I had this realization of, whether I went or not, it was going to happen. But it wasn't a matter of if it was happening, it was a matter of me actually, myself, doing what God wanted me to do. And the story before that is the parable of the talents. How the master went on a long journey and he had trusted his servants, one with 5 talents, one with 2 talents, one with 1. And how he wanted them to be invested. And when I was being scared and trying to decide, I came to that verse that said that he was saying why he didn't do anything with his talent. He just hid it. He was like, I was afraid, so I hid your talent. And I was realizing that I want to be invested. I don't want to just be afraid, and because I know that was not the right way to live. And when we found out the house number, that David's house was going to be number 23, I was like, I wonder what verse that is in the chapter. And so I would like to just share that verse with you in Matthew 25. Because they said, does this have any meaning? Because obviously God ties so many things together. And it's so incredible. I know Mary Jo has a meaning that she found for the number 23. But the verse that I found it says, when Jesus was talking to the second servant with the 2 talents, it says, his master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And I have, when I went to a discipleship training, and through this experience, it's just been leaving me wanting more. And trusting God in this little thing that I was faithful with, and now he's showing me greater things that he has for me. And so that was so cool for me. Another cool thing was I asked how to learn to say well done or good job that day, and that's bon travail. Probably not saying it right, but it's something like that. And I was like, whoa. So it was just incredible because I was so nervous about this trip, and leading up to it, the weeks I was freaking out, but God just gave me so many affirmations like that this was where he wanted me to be. So it was incredible. And thank you guys so much for being part of that. Yay.